I never expected the unraveling of my marriage to begin with something as simple as a grocery run. It was February of 2018 when everything I thought I knew about my life, and my wife, started to shift. Kathy and I had been married for just over 3 years. I worked as a director of technical sales, often traveling for work but spending long stretches at home between trips. Kathy had a high-paying corporate job and had recently started working longer hours. I thought it was just the nature of her career. We'd grown more distant lately, sure, but I chalked it up to the usual stress of modern life. We still laughed sometimes, shared the occasional meal, and talked about buying a home. I believed we were in a good place. I had no reason to suspect otherwise. That's the thing about betrayal, it doesn't shout, it whispers. One evening, she came home with a few bags of groceries, and I stepped out to the car to help bring them in. As I leaned into the back seat, I noticed something pink glinting from under the front passenger seat. My heart sank. I reached down and pulled out a lacy bra, hers no doubt from a brand I recognized. Now, she always took her bra off first when she was in a romantic mood, so seeing it jammed beneath the car seat wasn't just odd, it was alarming. Why was it there? Why was it off? And more importantly, who had been in that car? My stomach twisted in knots. I didn't say a word. I went back inside, bags in hand, trying to look normal even as my mind raced a mile a minute. She noticed something was off, asking if I'd seen a ghost. I said nothing. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, not without more proof. But deep down I knew. Something was terribly wrong. I tried to shake it off. That weekend, I planned a romantic evening. I cooked her favorite meal, set the table with our best silverware and china, lit some candles, even picked up flowers and a nice bottle of wine. I wanted to remind her, and maybe myself, of the love we once shared. But when she came through the door, she barely glanced at the table before saying she had to rush off to meet co-workers. I offered her a snack, trying to salvage the moment, but she was already halfway through the hallway. That's when the anger rose up in me. I wanted answers, and I knew the only way to get them was to catch her in the act. I had a second phone, my work phone, and I slipped it into the backseat of her car, hoping to track her location through a GPS app. When she left that night, I followed the signal. She stopped at a bar about 20 minutes from home, the same one she always said she went to for office gatherings. I parked across the street and waited. An hour later, I saw her exit the building with a man I didn't recognize, well-dressed, confident, clearly someone from her corporate world. He leaned in and kissed her right there under the streetlight. My chest tightened. I sat frozen behind the wheel of my car, watching them walk hand in hand toward a second vehicle. They climbed in and drove off. I followed, feeling like a ghost of myself. They pulled into a hotel parking lot. I watched them walk into the building. That was it. That was the moment my heart cracked. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I couldn't. I was too numb, too devastated, too confused. Instead, I drove, anywhere, nowhere. I ended up at a quiet tavern about 30 miles outside of town. I sat at the bar, ordered a drink, and probably looked like a man who'd just lost everything. The bartender, a kind woman, asked if I was all right. I said something vague. Then a man sat beside me and struck up a conversation. His name was Ree. He had the kind of down-to-earth demeanor that put me at ease. I told him what happened, and he nodded knowingly. "You've got 2 paths in front of you," he said. "You can let this break you, or you can let it free you." His words hit me like a bolt of lightning. In that moment, I realized I had a choice. Stay and unravel, or leave and rebuild. Ree offered me a place to stay, an old mobile trailer on his ranch property nestled in the foothills. It wasn't much, but it was quiet, peaceful, and mine. I accepted. Over the next few weeks, I quietly packed my things and moved them out while Kathy was at work. I didn't scream. I didn't accuse. I just disappeared. I left her a note and my wedding ring on the kitchen table. I wrote 5 words, "I hope it was worth it." And with that, I walked away. After discovering Kathy's betrayal, I knew I couldn't live another day pretending like everything was fine. That image of her walking into that hotel with another man had burned itself into my mind like a brand, and no matter how many times I tried to push it away, it kept coming back. At night, in the shower, even during work calls. I realized I couldn't heal in the same environment where the pain was born. The apartment we shared, once filled with dreams of building a life together, now felt like a prison. Every room whispered reminders of a woman I no longer recognized, a love I couldn't retrieve. That's when I remembered Ree's offer. He wasn't just being kind, he was extending a lifeline, and I intended to grab it with both hands. I started my escape quietly. No grand confrontations, no accusations, no shouting matches. That would have been giving her more than she deserved. I had spent years being reasonable, being forgiving, being loyal. Now it was time to be free. During the days while Kathy was at work or out on her so-called company outings, I began moving things out of the apartment little by little. Personal files, my laptop, clothing, gear, anything that belonged to me and held meaning. I didn't touch any of our shared furniture or decorations. I didn't want to take anything from her. In truth, I didn't want to carry any pieces of our broken life with me. The trailer on Ree's land was modest, about 26 feet long, but fully furnished. It had everything I needed: peace, space, and a view of the foothills that made me feel alive again. The air was crisp and clean, and for the first time in a long while, I could hear myself think without hearing her voice in my head. The surrounding area had hiking and biking trails, the kind of places I used to escape to when life got too noisy. It was just me, the pines, and the wind. And for once that was enough. Ree helped me settle in. He showed me how to hook up water and electricity, where the best trails were, and even introduced me to a few of the locals who quickly became friendly faces. There was a small town bar nearby, the kind where everyone knows your name and the jukebox still plays country classics. We'd meet there now and then, share a drink, and talk about life, love, and all the things that hurt. Ree was divorced too, and something about our shared wounds made the conversations feel therapeutic. No judgment. No advice unless asked. Just honest company. I also found myself being more mindful of my habits. As tempting as it was to drown my sorrow in whiskey or beer, I knew I had to be careful. I didn't want to swap one kind of self-destruction for another. So I limited my drinks and started running again. It was something I hadn't done since my 20s, and though my knees didn't thank me, my mind did. The rhythm of my steps on the dirt trail, the sound of birds in the trees, the way the sunlight filtered through the leaves, it reminded me that life still had beauty even after heartbreak. Back in the apartment, Kathy had started acting strangely. Maybe she sensed something was off. Maybe she could feel the silence growing between us. She tried being sweet again, making little jokes, suggesting dinner dates, even touching my arm more often. But it was all too late. I could see the guilt behind her eyes, and I knew she was trying to patch something that had already fallen apart. One evening as she was heading out, probably to see him, I got dressed as well. When she asked where I was going, I used her old line, "Just out with some work friends." You wouldn't know them. Her face fell and I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. When she finally went on a business trip for a few days, I saw my chance. I packed everything I hadn't moved yet, my photos, journals, favorite books, and I left. I didn't take the TV or the dishes or the coffee table we picked out together. I didn't want souvenirs from a life that had turned into a lie. I left her a single note. I hope it was worth it. I placed it on the kitchen table, right beside my wedding ring. Driving out of town, I felt a strange kind of peace. Not joy, not yet, but a deep breath after years of holding it in. The trailer became my sanctuary, and the mountains became my healing ground. I wasn't running away, I was running towards something better. Myself. My peace. My future. And I didn't look back. It had been months since I left. I'd carved out a peaceful new life for myself in that little trailer nestled against the foothills. The air was cleaner, the nights were quieter, and for the first time in what felt like years I could actually sleep. My phone stayed silent and I kept it that way, changed my number, unplugged from the past. But peace has a way of being temporary when your past refuses to stay buried. I never thought I'd run into Kathy again, but life's funny like that. It doesn't ask your permission before stirring the pot. The first time I saw her again, it was purely by accident, at least for me. I was at my regular coffee shop, a little place in town where the folks know me by name and the coffee's always strong. I just finished some paperwork for my remote job and stepped outside when I heard someone call my name. Paul? I turned around and there she was, standing across the street like some ghost pulled straight out of a memory. I froze. I didn't wave, didn't smile, just stared. And she started walking toward me, quickening her pace like she was afraid I might vanish if she didn't get to me fast enough. Her face looked worn, not tired exactly, but like someone who'd been carrying something heavy for too long. She came close and tried to reach for my hand, but I stepped back and put my palms up. I didn't owe her a hug, not even a handshake. She seemed to understand and dropped her arms, but not the pain in her eyes. "I've been looking for you," she said, her voice cracking a little. "I needed to see you. Can we talk?" I should have walked away, but curiosity got the better of me. We found a bench outside a small store and sat down. She started in on how much I'd changed, how she liked my beard, how I looked stronger. "You look like a mountain man," she said with a small smile, the same one that once melted me. Not this time. I kept my guard up. She was laying on the charm thick, trying to reach the parts of me she used to know. But I wasn't that man anymore. Then came the tears. She told me everything. How after I left, her world unraveled. Her affair partner's fiancé found out and he got transferred. Her job became unbearable once rumors started spreading, and eventually she resigned. She said it was karma that she couldn't even look at herself in the mirror. She started drinking more, staying up all night replaying what she'd done. I felt like I was rotting from the inside, she whispered. I didn't respond. I just stared at a crack in the sidewalk, wishing I didn't still feel something, anger, sadness, maybe both. I needed to find you, she said. I want a fresh start. I know it's too late, but I had to try. That's when I snapped. I looked her dead in the eyes and said, you don't get to waltz back into my life and pretend the damage didn't happen. Do you think I forgot what I saw? You walking into a hotel with him, hand in hand like we never meant anything? My voice got louder and I saw people around us glance over. I didn't care. You killed our marriage. You murdered it with every lie. Every night you came home smelling like someone else. She tried to touch my arm, sobbing now, but I pulled away. She kept whispering, I deserve this. I know I do. But please let me make it right. I asked her how she found me, and sure enough, she'd cornered a mutual acquaintance, Stacy, until she gave her a vague idea of where I'd moved. Kathy had been coming into town every chance she could, hoping to accidentally run into me. It was unsettling but not surprising. We ended up grabbing a quiet dinner, neutral ground, public, no alcohol. She tried one more time to pull me back, saying she hadn't dated anyone since me, saying she'd wait however long it took. She took my hands in hers and said, God damn it, Paul. I will always love you. And maybe she did. But I didn't feel the same. I couldn't. I told her plainly, you're not coming back into my life. You made your choices. I made mine. I don't hate you, but I don't trust you. And I'm not interested in pretending we can rebuild something that was burned to the ground. I gave her my email. Not my phone number. That was as far as I was willing to go. She wept again but didn't argue. We stood awkwardly outside her car. She looked at me like she wanted to say something more but didn't. As I watched her drive off, I felt something close. Not closure, but a door finally swinging shut. Whatever connection we had once shared was gone. I'd faced the past. And I wasn't looking back. After that unexpected run-in with Kathy, I thought maybe, just maybe, that was the end of it. We'd said what we needed to say. I had stood my ground, drawn a line in the sand, and made it clear that I wasn't going back to what we used to be. But in true Kathy fashion, she didn't let go easily. Just a week after that conversation on the bench, she sent me a long email. It was full of regrets and apologies, things I wish I'd heard years ago, when they might have meant something. She poured her heart out, saying she was still in love with me, that she had never stopped, that walking away from me had been the biggest mistake of her life. And then she offered to come stay with me for the weekend, to talk, reconnect, and see if there was even a sliver of something left between us. That was her final play. I didn't even hesitate. I hit reply and told her plainly, I wasn't interested. I didn't need more explanations, more tears, or another attempt to resurrect a relationship she'd already buried. You made your bed, I wrote. Now you've got to lie in it. I told her I had no plans to make amends and that I wasn't the same man she left behind. I didn't even bother sugarcoating it. I didn't owe her softness. Not after everything. That email must have rattled her because her next reply came quick, and it wasn't romantic. She was irritated that I wouldn't let her in, frustrated that I'd refused to play along with her fantasy of reconciliation. She finally admitted that she had accepted a job offer in another state and had hoped I would come with her. That was her grand idea, to relocate and start fresh somewhere new. In her mind, my remote work made that a perfect option. I couldn't help but shake my head. After everything she did, she still thought I'd drop everything and follow her like a stray dog. Thankfully, I didn't have to dodge that bullet for long. I had business travel lined up that week and would be gone. Timing, as they say, is everything. She never got the chance to pull up in my driveway or show up at my trailer doorstep with tears and promises. Her time was up. And, in a way, mine had just begun. After that, I felt something shift inside me. Not relief exactly, and not revenge either, but clarity. I realized I'd been holding on to remnants of hope without even noticing. Some part of me had still been curious about whether she truly felt remorse or if I'd made a mistake by leaving without more of a fight. But that final chapter with her put it all to rest. I'd done the right thing. Walking away wasn't weakness. It was strength, the kind that comes when you stop trying to save someone who's been drowning you. Now my life is simple, quiet, beautiful. I still live in that trailer tucked into the hills. It might not be much to someone else, but to me it's everything. Peace, space, and freedom. I run in the mornings, hike on weekends, and spend my evenings watching the sun dip behind the trees with a cold beer in hand. I've even started seeing someone, nothing serious but sweet and easy. She's younger, sure, but down to earth. Calls me her mountain man, and loves my cooking. We met when I helped her change a tire on the trail, and we've been sharing meals and stories since. I'm in no rush for anything permanent, and she respects that. The funny thing is, I never imagined my life would look like this. A couple years ago, I was living in a high-rise with a wife I thought was my forever. I had the house plans, the shared dreams, the talk of starting a family. And now I've got none of that. What I do have is mine, and peaceful. That matters more than people realize. Every so often, a song will come on the radio that reminds me of Kathy, or I'll pass a couple laughing at a restaurant and remember what it used to feel like to be part of something. But those moments come and go like wind through the trees. They don't stick around long enough to hurt. She might still email me now and then. I wouldn't be surprised. But I won't answer. I gave her more chances than she ever gave me. And now I owe it to myself to protect what I've built. My peace. My future. My freedom. So, if you're out there going through something similar, wondering if you should forgive or fight or walk, I'll tell you what I've learned. You don't have to fix what someone else broke. You don't have to stay just because you once loved someone. And you sure as hell don't have to accept less than you deserve. Life's too short for that. In the stillness of these quiet mountain mornings, I often find myself reflecting, not with bitterness but with a strange sort of calm acceptance. It's amazing how life can flip completely upside down and then, little by little, realign in a way you never expected. If you told me 2 years ago that I'd be living alone in a trailer tucked away on a wooded hillside, running trails at sunrise, and feeling more at peace than I ever did in a suburban apartment with a so-called perfect life, I'd have laughed. Back then, I had the job, the marriage, the plan. I also had blinders on. Now, after everything that's happened, I understand that losing what you thought was everything might just be the beginning of becoming who you're really meant to be. When I left my old life behind after discovering Kathy's affair, I didn't have a detailed plan. I didn't call a lawyer or pack a suitcase with a destination in mind. I just left. Quietly. No explosions, no revenge, no confrontations. Just a note on the kitchen table, my wedding ring on top of it, and a deep need to breathe again. It felt like I'd been holding my breath for years, making excuses for the distance between us, for the late nights, for the emotional cold front that swept into our home and never quite left. I thought I was doing the right thing by staying silent, trying harder, cooking fancy dinners and lighting candles, hoping that would bring her back to me. But in hindsight, I was the only one still in that marriage. She had already left. It just took me a while to catch up to the truth. When I met Ree, the guy at the bar, and he offered me a place to stay, I didn't know that would be the start of a whole new chapter. At first, the idea of moving into a mobile trailer on a hill seemed like a step backward. But that little space became a sanctuary. I fixed it up, added my own touches, and found joy in the simplicity of it all. No shared closets, no pretending, no waiting up for someone who wasn't coming home. Just me, the quiet, and the open sky. Over time, I began to rebuild, not just physically but emotionally. I got back to the things I'd set aside for years. Running, working with my hands, reading, cooking for pleasure instead of peacekeeping. The hills offered healing I didn't know I needed. The first few weeks were tough, I won't sugarcoat that. There were nights I lay awake replaying it all, wondering what I missed, what I could have done differently. But eventually those thoughts lost their sting. The heartbreak softened, not because it didn't matter, but because I finally realized that none of it had anything to do with my worth. Kathy reached out a few times over the past year. She tried to apologize, to reconnect, even begged to see me one last time. And when we did run into each other by chance, it confirmed everything I already knew. I had made the right decision. Her tears, her remorse, her regret. None of it changed the fact that she broke something between us that couldn't be repaired. There's a difference between being sorry and being safe to love again. She wasn't either. Now I've built a life on my terms. I work remotely, stay active, and I've met new people who bring me joy without asking me to shrink myself. One of them is a woman I met on the trail, kind, funny, and surprisingly down to earth. We're taking things slow. I'm not rushing to put labels on it or make promises I'm not ready for. After everything I've been through, I've learned the value of emotional clarity. You don't enter something new just to escape the past. You enter it because you're ready to walk forward with eyes wide open. People sometimes ask if I miss being married. The truth is, I miss the idea of what I thought marriage was supposed to be. I miss the warmth of shared coffee in the morning, the comfort of being known. But I don't miss the version I had, the coldness, the doubt, the loneliness that comes from loving someone who's already emotionally packed their bags. I'd rather be alone with my peace than partnered with my pain. If you're going through something similar, maybe you've been betrayed or you're standing at a crossroads unsure of what comes next, I'll say this: the road ahead may look dark now, but keep walking. Your peace is worth protecting. You're not broken, you're just beginning again. And that beginning might be quieter, smaller, simpler than what you imagined. But it might also be the truest version of your life yet. I don't know what tomorrow holds. Maybe I'll stay in this trailer for years, or maybe I'll build something new. But whatever comes next, I know this: I won't be haunted by the past anymore. I've reclaimed my story. And I'm living it one peaceful day at a time. I never imagined I'd see her again, not really. After everything that happened, after I left without a word and built a life of quiet away from the chaos, I thought it was over. And for the most part, it was. I had moved on. My trailer up here in the hills had become more than a place to sleep. It was my sanctuary, my fresh start. But life has a way of looping back sometimes, doesn't it? That final encounter with my ex-wife Kathy reminded me just how far I'd come, and just how firmly I needed to protect my peace. I was doing something ordinary, running into town for groceries and stopping by my regular coffee spot. When it happened, I heard my name shouted across the street. When I turned, there she was, standing on the sidewalk like a ghost from a life I'd left behind. I froze. For a second, I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to turn and walk away. But something told me I needed to face her one last time. Maybe not for her, but for me. She walked up, smiling nervously, and reached out like she expected a hug. I stopped her with open palms, keeping my distance. Her eyes looked different, tired, maybe sadder, but there was still something familiar in the way she tried to use her charm, as if we were just old friends catching up. She asked if we could talk. Against my better judgment, I said yes, but made it clear we weren't going anywhere private. I wasn't about to invite that energy back into my home. We sat down on a bench outside a small store nearby. She began with compliments: my appearance, my new life, how I looked stronger, calmer. I let her speak. Then the apologies came. She admitted the affair, finally saying what I had known deep down but never heard from her lips until now. She told me about the fallout, how she had to resign from her job, how the man she had cheated with was engaged and eventually transferred out of their department. How, after I left, everything in her world fell apart. How karma, as she put it, had finally caught up with her. I didn't say much. I listened. Not because I believed everything she was saying, but because I didn't feel the need to argue anymore. My silence was louder than anything she could offer in return. She cried. She begged for a second chance. Said she loved me. Said she always had. She told me she wanted to start over, that maybe we could move somewhere new and try again. I sat there thinking, how many chances did I give you before? How many nights did I wait, hoping you'd come back to me in heart, not just in body? I finally spoke. I told her the truth. I said she had no right to come back now and try to undo what had already been broken. I reminded her that I watched her walk into a hotel with another man. I told her I didn't need to yell or argue or seek revenge, because she had already destroyed everything that mattered. There was no trust left. No future to rebuild. She cried harder. Told me she couldn't forgive herself. That she'd never stop loving me. And maybe that's true. But it doesn't change anything. I offered her a kind but firm goodbye. I gave her my email address, not my phone number. I wasn't interested in opening a door that took me so long to close. She asked if I'd ever consider forgiving her. I told her maybe in 5 or 10 years, when the pain was just a story and not a shadow. And even then, it wouldn't mean we'd ever be together again. I walked her back to her car, said my final goodbye, and turned away without looking back. Since then, she's emailed a few times. Said she took a job out of state and had hoped I'd come with her. That she thought we could start over. I never answered. My silence said everything. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not broken either. I'm just done. And you know what? That's okay. Up here, surrounded by trees and peace and quiet, I found something better than forgiveness. I found release. The past can't touch me anymore. It can knock on my door, sure, but it doesn't get to come in. Kathy was once my whole world. Now she's just someone I used to know. And the man I was back then? He's gone too. I'm someone new now. Someone stronger, wiser, and finally free. One of the most profound lessons from this story is the importance of preserving your self-worth, even when life breaks your heart. As we age, we often reflect on the relationships that shaped us, both good and bad. This man's quiet departure after his wife's betrayal is not just about heartbreak. It's about choosing peace over confrontation, dignity over drama. In a world that often pressures us to forgive quickly or fix what's broken, Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is walk away, heal, and not look back. His journey reminds us that closure doesn't always come from a conversation. It often comes from within. For older adults who have seen the highs and lows of life, this story reinforces a timeless truth. It's never too late to start over, to protect your peace, or to simplify your life. Emotional pain doesn't have an expiration date, but healing is possible when we give ourselves permission to let go of the people who harm us. Even after decades of commitment, we are still allowed to choose ourselves. The value of a quiet, honest life, with fewer complications and deeper self-awareness, cannot be overstated. And perhaps the most meaningful takeaway of all, strength is not always loud. Sometimes, it's the silent decision to reclaim your life with grace and move forward, even when no one is watching. Thank you so much for watching this story. If it touched your heart or gave you something to think about, please take a moment to comment one below. That lets us know you found value in the video, and it helps us continue creating more stories that matter. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a new upload. And if this story meant something to you, please give it a like and share it with someone who might need to hear it today. We'd also love to hear from you. How did this story make you feel? Did it remind you of something in your own life? Or did it offer a new perspective? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your voice makes this community stronger. Until next time, take care of yourself, and remember, your peace matters.